The first Kingdom Hearts game started the series strong with a standout formula and unique setting, traveling to the worlds of various Disney movies, as well as incredible original locations in a spaceship and teaming up with Disney heroes to save the worlds from darkness. Each world is distinct in both the atmosphere and the manner in which the player interacts with the environment. Here's my ranking for each of the worlds that you played through in the first Kingdom Hearts game. Monstro the Whale goes at the bottom of the list. Fitting, I suppose, as even the interface acknowledges that it isn't a proper world outside of being a level setting. It shows up when you are flying to one of the two worlds that open up after Agrabah and swallows the gummy ship whole. After that point, the only real distinction it serves in being on the world map is that you can't warp to it for a revisit. You have to fly along the path you locked the whale in on. In the level's actual setting, the whale's mouth is the most interesting room, although you can't take full advantage of the platforming until the second part of the level, when the water recedes and you get the high jump ability. The rest of the level is a labyrinth that really establishes the headache you will get on a blind playthrough when the passage that Riku runs through as he leads Sora on a chase turns out to be a dead end. There are some details to help you navigate the wheel's innards quickly, those being the green requiems that appear over the correct entrance, as well as the fact that the correct passages light up green. But odds are you're still going to get lost and go in circles, and only eventually get where you want to go. As for the characters and plot, this is very light on the Disney characters, despite giving our resident chronicler Jiminy some prominence. The focus is instead on the drama between Sora and Riku and the fracturing of their friendship as Riku turns to the dark side. Pinocchio only has a handful of lines, and most of his and Geppetto's minimal character development is shown in Traverse Town rather than their focal world. A lot of people's least favorite world, though I always enjoyed it. Although I have to agree that it isn't easy finding your way around, but the tridents pointing your way to the palace make it easier. It is more straightforward when you're in the extremities of the map, in the palace and when you get to the shipwreck. Having to defeat all enemies where you are in order to be able to ride the dolphin, and potentially all over the place if you try to chase the dolphin instead of waiting for it, is tedious, but it's something you may only have to do once, as you can find a hidden way between the shipwreck and the undersea gorge that will let you go between them without requiring the dolphin or mermaid kick to get past the strong current. At that point, you can get pretty much anywhere you need to go from the undersea gorge. The underwater movement controls are clunky, which was greatly improved upon in Kingdom Hearts 3, although locking onto an enemy generally lets you close in with less difficulty. But you might not want to. Combat in Atlantica is designed so that you rely more on magic. The sheltering zones explode into sea neons if you defeat them with melee attacks, while magic victories simply eliminate the big Heartless. Glut the Shark will hurt you with a chomp after you do a melee combo, so it may be better to attack from a distance. Some treasure shells can only be opened with magic. 2 secrets can be revealed by casting magic on floating sea urchins. You need to use magic on Ursula's cauldron in order to be able to do damage to her in her first boss fight, and you really do not want to be up close and in range during her second boss fight. As for having the MP to actually cast these spells, you are very likely to have acquired all first tier spells right before heading to Atlantica, at which point the game will encourage you to get the Spellbinder Keyblade from Merlin, which boosts your MP. Doesn't make fighting Ursula any less of a pain. As for the story and character dynamics, I love the friendship between Sora and Ariel. It's one of my favorites of the bonds that Sora forms, and they really are kindred spirits. The conflict of King Triton not trusting Sora not just because he is a human, but because he believes the Keyblade only brings destruction, brings something new to the table that is rarely seen afterward, as most Disney worlds don't tie much into the greater lore of the series. A world that only appeared in the first game and the eventual novelization because Disney's license to use the Tarzan property expired, Deep Jungle is the first world to introduce a world-specific party member, and it establishes a theme by separating Sora from Donald and Goofy and having Tarzan briefly take their place. Heartless don't appear for the first half of the world's story, instead having the danger stem from threats in the untamed jungle, okay, just the boar, and keeping the theme of Heartless being drawn to the darkness in people's hearts by only having them appear when Clayton digs a clear turn as the antagonist of the world. As for actually navigating the world, it's pretty straightforward. You really can't get lost here. There is a lot of backtracking though. In the middle of the world, you need to go to every room where enemies can spawn, for example. There is a lot of platforming, but you don't get punished or forced to go all over the place if you miss a jump. You just try again. There is one place where you can drop to different locations, but unlike some other worlds, you most likely won't end up there in combat. The minigames that can be found here, Jungle Surfing and Vine Swing, are straightforward and only mildly challenging. This world also serves as a turning point in Sora's relationship with Donald and Goofy, particularly Donald, as Donald didn't care about helping Sora find his friends before, and was only interested in using him to find King Mickey, and Sora has finally had enough. So they come to blows but ultimately learn and bury the hatchet. While Donald still had to work on that first part a bit, he starts to care more about Sora's feelings and they become real friends. The side quest world where, in order to unlock more locations and proceed through the story, you need to find the missing pages scattered on other worlds, and one by working through the Dalmatian Puppies side quest and return them to the book. A world that expands the further you go through the main game. The layout of each area isn't very complicated, focusing instead more on minigames, and the minigames themselves are relaxing, straightforward, and not too difficult. Although I don't think I ever really mastered Tigger's Giant Pot. And that's just on consoles. On the Steam release, I ran into a glitch where the nuts teleported to the ground a frame after they got to where I could hit them, making it incredibly difficult to complete the minigame. But beyond that, it's a simple world where you can take a break from all the fighting and just bond with Pooh Bear and his friends. Aside from a handful of secrets, there isn't much of this world to explore. The emphasis is instead on the tournaments, challenging yourself against packs of Heartless and bosses without the benefit of item drops. The story of the world ties into Sora's arc, with him learning over time what the true measure of a hero is, and it serves as a non-narrative mark of his growth as a warrior as he becomes able to properly match against Cloud and Leon and defeat Cerberus at full strength, before ultimately battling a god. The boss fights are unique, fun, and challenging matches. You can replay tournaments with additional challenges such as a time trial and a solo run. And the tournaments are great for level grinding, putting you well on your way to gaining the strength of a true hero. One must appreciate that Alice in Wonderland was picked as the first world that you go to after leaving Traverse Town. It really lets Sora and first-time players understand just how unique the worlds can be. As a trade-off, this is the most difficult world to navigate, but the puzzles are fun and clever, and you really need to think outside the box. Check everything for something to interact with, and roll with the insanity to get around. You don't even just solve puzzles at one size. You need to shrink down to proceed into Wonderland, but there are some things that you can do at that size, and others that you need to return to normal size to do. Such as releasing a bookshelf in one version of the Bazaar Room to drop a teddy bear that makes a painting of some books become physical, return to the original version of the Bazaar Room and grow to full size, check the book to find a mithril, then move the teddy bear to make a wall painting of a grandfather clock real, and then push it aside to open a passage that you need to be small to go into. You won't find a puzzle like this anywhere else in the series. Oh, also, you need to be big to push the bed into the wall, because the doorknob is asleep, so you can't enter Wonderland through his door. For the life of me, I could never understand why you couldn't just go through the door. The plot properly brings up the concept of the world order, which keeps key bearers from acknowledging other worlds to the locals, and keeps later party members from tagging along to worlds not their own, but it doesn't cause any problems yet. It also opens up the Kidnap Princesses plot, though we don't find out about it just yet aside from the mystery of what happened to Alice. The game doesn't punish you for struggling to figure out the secrets of the level design, as you can proceed through the trial part of the plot with only one piece of evidence, although the fewer items you collect, the more difficult the scripted fight will become, but by exploring everything and finding the hidden evidence piece, the game will reward you by giving you the Blizzard spell early, which can help against the Red Nocturnes the same way Fire helped against Blue Rhapsodies, and against Trickmaster. The starting world. While it is a small level comprised of only 3 rooms and a boss fight, it has plenty of resources and opportunities to learn how to play the game at your own pace. from combat and parrying to collecting key items to platforming, and gives you a good look into what Sora's life is like before the plot kicks in. After you complete the tasks for each day, you can hold off on progressing the story and keep sparring with Sora's friends or racing against Riku to practice or farm potions and pretty stones. The final dungeon really captures the vibe of a domain of darkness made up of the wasted remains of countless worlds. From a lore perspective, the invisible barriers railroading you on a path from one little island to the next still confuses me, but you won't have trouble at all sorting out the path you're supposed to follow since all of the little blocks of land are shaped like arrows. This whole thing is a real gauntlet, throwing the strongest non-boss enemies in the game at you and even a couple behemoths, which granted aren't the hardest bosses. The world terminus provides brief sort of returns to every past world as part of the gauntlet, although I'm not entirely sure what it really is from a lore perspective. Then there is an awesome yet challenging flying fight against Chernobog, a no enemy encounter hallway where you see the remnants of Snow White, Cinderella, and Aurora's destroyed worlds, before one very long battle with a behemoth and many waves of the resident super powerful non-boss enemies, before the final save point and the final showdown with Ansem. This world is a heck of a way to end the game. The second world to give Sora, Donald, and Goofy a new appearance, and I've gotta say, peak. This world just has perfect atmosphere for a spooky realm of Halloween. The world has an interesting, albeit short-lived, impact with the Heartless, as for some reason, probably because they view the Halloween Towners as creatures of the dark, the Heartless are non-hostile, and Jack Skellington is able to hook them up to a machine to try to control their movements. Sora sees this as a chance to take a proactive move against the Heartless by taking control of them, but it doesn't pan out. In fact, they turn hostile again pretty quickly after the machine malfunctions. My main complaint about traversing the world is that a lot of the time you can only go from one place to another by interacting with something, and you have to clear out every enemy first, although you can later bypass this with the lantern platform things. Oogie's Manor is a very cool room, though you will very likely fall off while fighting aerial foes and need to find the bathtub to get back up. And again, the atmosphere, the vibes. In no other world do the Heartless just perch on things when they appear. The developers didn't have to do this, but they did just because. The manor is gone by the end of the world's story, but it's fun while it lasts. The fight with Lock, Shock, and Barrel is brutal, but Oogie's boss fight makes fun use of his killer gambler gimmick in the arena setup, and the Manor Oogie battle takes full advantage of the platforming system and the building's complex architecture. Unlike other worlds where you are free to go where you want to get where you need to be, Sora and company are trapped below decks in a pirate ship, so you have to go through whatever door is available to get out. Riku is firmly against Sora now, and this carries over into the exploration as he sends a shadow shaped like Sora to pester him, and all you can do is try to navigate the pirate ship in hopes of finding him and Kairi, right up until you fight Anti-Sora in the captain's cabin. And then from the next boss on, anywhere from above the deck, the clock tower, and below decks, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly! And while it has some similar issues with controls and combat as in Atlantica, flying around is just so fun! The clock tower seems to just exist for you to fly around to your heart's content listening to a wonderful music track, and there's an Easter egg that takes advantage of the in-game clock to let you get a prize every hour. Until you clear Hollow Bastion and the Phantom shows up to camp there until you beat it. The Desert Sultanate is the first in a newly unlocked batch of worlds, and it serves as the midpoint level of the game. Exploring the city and the Cave of Wonders is fun and dynamic, and Aladdin is a great party member and friend in the story. There are major plot developments as we, along with Sora, Donald, and Goofy, learn more about the Seven Princesses of Heart as Jasmine is kidnapped, Sora meets Maleficent for the first time, we defeat one of Maleficent's band of Disney villains, and the second in command, or so it seems, at that, and Riku marks his allegiance to Maleficent by finishing the task of kidnapping Jasmine in exchange for help in finding... Falling into the pit in the Cave of Wonders isn't just an obstacle for platforming, but it is necessary to find various treasures, including some torn pages, as well as to open access to the arena where you can fight Jafar. And another fun little detail, it's explained early on that Jafar arrested the citizens when taking over Agrabah, and when you defeat Jafar and clear Agrabah of Heartless, generic NPCs do appear for you to talk to around the city, at least before you leave and Heartless reappear on return visits. Home Base, the hub world in this game. It's a safe haven for those who survive their world's destructions and has a cozy atmosphere even though there is still danger beyond the first district. You can come back here whenever to shop and stock up on items, return located Dalmatians home for rewards, buy gummy blocks and gummy garage upgrades from Sid, synthesize items with the Moogles, practice magic with Merlin, unlock obtain summons with Fairy Godmother, and visit the 100-Acre Wood for minigames. There are more characters to talk to at any point in the game than in other worlds, giving a sense that this is a community. Revisits to this world serve as benchmarks for main plot developments, and there are plenty of secrets to uncover on your first visit and in revisits as you unlock more abilities and trinities. It may not be any of the residents' first choice, but Traverse Town really feels like home sweet home. This is it, the big one. The domain of Maleficent and the Heartless, and the former home of Leon and company, and the dramatic climax of the game. And from the word go, it does not pull its punches, opening with Riku taking the Keyblade from Sora and Donald and Goofy leaving him behind. This is where Beast comes in to aid Sora, and he proves himself an invaluable ally and a powerful party member, plowing through Heartless with more strength than Sora even after he gets his Keyblade back. Navigating the castle runs entirely on puzzles to move walls and blocks, or redirect transportation by interacting with switches or moving library books. And you need to learn this in the first exploration section before you can confront Riku and take the Keyblade and your party members back. The floating bubbles can be used to take you under the surface to collect treasures in the Rising Falls or to take you to another area, or they can be frozen to use as platforms, which you should do for one to find a hidden chest. Ascending and exploring the castle continues to operate like a Legend of Zelda dungeon, and there are a bunch of treasure chests on floating platforms that you need gravity to bring down to your level to open, which is a neat environmental use of magic that hasn't happened much outside of a handful of occasions in Traverse Town. The whole time you were put to the test against powerful Heartless. The only thing that would cause me to dock points from this world is the fact that, once again, fighting Aerial Heartless will more likely than not cause you to fall off a ledge into a room below, particularly in the Castle Gates section, and most of the enemies you fight are airborne. At the top, you are put through awesome and grueling battles against Maleficent and an Ansem-possessed Riku that really put your skills to the test. After that, the whams keep hitting, as Sora sacrifices himself by removing his heart to free Kyrie's and temporarily becoming a Heartless. Riku's heart is banished to the realm of darkness, and the final keyhole is completed, making Heartless on every world even stronger. On the return visit, you have to run through the gauntlet of a broader range of Heartless all over again to ascend the castle and seal the last keyhole, meeting the Princesses of Heart and seeing Leon, Yuffie, and Aerith return home. Hollow Bastion is definitely my number one world in the game, and in the series as a whole, based on aesthetics, atmosphere, level design, environment interaction, story, and the world-specific party member. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Be sure to hit that thumbs up if you liked the video, subscribe so that you will always know when I upload, follow me on Tumblr and Twitch, and have a wonderful day. I'm Wally Griffin, and I'll catch you guys later.